Hello guys, I am Kert-Jan and this is Brew Better. In this series, we'll be explaining to you how we brew the coffees that they roast and how to enjoy these coffees better. Today we'll be brewing coffee from the Philippines, specifically from Mount Apo and Sitio Balotacay, Bansalan. Now this was actually farmed and produced by Miss Maria Luz Dubria from the BACOFA Cooperative. This is a combination of catimor and typica, which actually introduces a distinct taste that only Filipino coffees could offer. This coffee was farmed from 1,600 meters above sea level and was processed via lactic fermentation that actually improves the consistency of the coffee in a way that it jumps up the body and the acidity there forward. So let's get brewing. Today is quite special because we're going to be brewing through siphon. Again, okay, one particular hint. Brewing via siphon makes the fruit-forward notes of the coffee really stand out while increasing the mouthfeel to a much creamier consistency. Well, if you don't believe me, you might as well give this a try. So I am going to be using a Yama 5-cup siphon brewer, and the water temperature is not really relevant to a specific number, but it is as close to boiling as we can possibly do so. And we're going to be dosing 16 grams of semi-coarse ground coffee, meaning I have ground this using a Kinu manual grinder at number 42. If you're going to be using Comandantes, you might as well grind this from 22 to 23 clicks forward. All right, and I'll be using 220 mils of water, which I specifically created for this siphon recipe. And again, it's going to help bring those fruit forward notes and help us in gaining that mouthfeel that we always desire, which is very reminiscent of pina coladas. The only thing is, it's just gonna be warm. So let's start. Again, I'll be pouring almost boiling water to 220 mils in the lower bowl. Now I'll be starting the little butane stove that actually boils the water. Light it up, making sure that I'm only letting the fire sit at the low end. Then I'll be locking my filter, which is a cotton filter that really improves the consistency and introduces a little bit of those oils to our beverage. I'll be putting it in. Now we wait for a bit. Now I'm using a wooden paddle to actually agitate the grounds as I introduce them to the water. Now this water will actually go up to the upper bowl because of the vacuum that's created with all the hot water boiling inside and creating that steam which pushes the water upward. Now the water is up and I will lower the fire to make sure that the bubbles in the upper bowl are not as big and not as turbulent, because we don't want to over agitate the grounds while we're doing it. Now we have a steady boil. Again, this is not boiling, this is just the air that's trying to escape from the lower bowl to the upper bowl, hence the bubbles. Let's pour in the coffee. And I start the time. Slowly incorporate the grounds to the water, stir it gently. Now I want to be very particular with how you're steering this with a paddle, because if you steer this too aggressively, you might end up with a muddy tasting brew. The flavors are not going to be that clear, and at the same time, the coffee that you're going to be drinking is going to taste much more powerful or strong as you sip it. I'm waiting for the time to actually go past the 1 minute mark without even agitating the grounds up forward. And slowly lowering the fire. Now I turn it off. 1 minute has elapsed and I will stir this gently, actually more of a fold, as I'm reintroducing the crust, and you can see that going down. And this will go through that cloth filter total brewing time is just 1 minute and 30. So within those 1 minute and 30 seconds, the coffee has actually been percolated and is now filtered down to this lower bowl. Take this off. Careful when you take the upper bowl, because the whole thing is hot. If you're not used to it, you're gonna end up burning your fingers. We're gonna take the lock off so that it doesn't break when you put it on the stand. Put it gently, and here you go. So we have made this rest for a few seconds and it's done. It's time to enjoy a good cup. A little warning though, make sure that you stir or swish the coffee around your glass or your cup before you actually take a sip of it, because this is very hot. You don't want to burn your palate. Take a sniff. Amazing aroma. Just amazing. Now always make sure that when you're drinking this, it's going to be warm to your palate, not gonna burn your palate off. And amazingly enough, the pineapple is very present, and at the same time, there's a lot more flavors happening here because of how we brewed it. Especially knowing that we're using a cotton filter through the siphon method, the body of the coffee is just rich to the core when you're really just like drinking a hot version of pina colada. So you guys can ask more questions about how I'm actually brewing this siphon coffee through my page on Instagram, calibrate.coffee. Now, always remember that your best coffee is the coffee that suits you. Feel free to share with us your brewing method and experience with a coffee. Cheers, and don't stop brewing.